called soft skills, but they are hard to learn, and also they are making all the difference now when it comes to getting a job and also maintaining your job, isn't it? Everybody is here because you have done exceptionally well when it comes to your subjects. That's how you have made it to this profession. When we talk about soft skills, it really has to do with our productivity, it has to do with our interpersonal satisfaction, and it also has to do a lot with the quality of life we lead, right? So, I shall be talking about few things that the job market requires these days, and also I will discuss with you as teachers, and not just as teachers, as parents also, what is it that you need to do so that the younger generation finds it important to learn these skills, right? Okay. Right. So, as I said, that the skills that we need in order to find a job, get hired, and also to stay hired are what we call it as soft skills or employability skills. And once you are in a job and the interview happened, at that time, I probably there's an equal weightage to the technical skills as well as to the soft skills. But once we are in the job market, it's very important to keep evolving ourselves as professionals in order to stay relevant, isn't it? So these soft skills or life skills, they are those aspects of our profession which, when mastered, they make our lives more comfortable and more successful, because through these skills, we learn a lot of things about self management as well as people management. Okay. Another thing I want to share with all of you is that let it not be a one-way monologue. The more questions you ask, the more you participate in this particular program, more lively this interaction is going to be. Okay, all right. So when we talk about the universal life skills or the universal soft skills, it starts with self presentation skills. Okay, now let's understand something very interesting. Or you can always, be aware of this very simple rule, which is called as, you know, uh, 3 into 3 into 3 rule, or 3 plus 3 plus 3 rule. So, people, they look at us, they observe us from, say, 3 meters away. So when somebody is, say, observing you from little distance, what is it that they will observe in you? What is it that they are actually observing?
Your walking style.
Your
Walking
walking
style.
style, absolutely. What else?
Um, your appearance, overall appearance.
Yes, wonderful. Our appearance. Okay, and when you say appearance, what all things count in appearance? The way you walk
Yes.
and
The way
The
one
way you
listens.
talk, the way you conduct yourself.
correct, the way you conduct yourself. I heard another voice also somewhere in between.
Yeah, ma'am. The way one dresses, ma'am.
Yes, your dress. I wish people could see our souls and our hearts, right? But they cannot. So, what really counts, as both the ladies have said here, is how you are dressed up, right? How your body language looks like, your conduct looks like. Do you look like a little amicable, approachable person, right? Punitsa, you want to say something?
energy level,
उपदेश sir, क्या कह रहे हैं आप?
energy level.
Energy level, yes, very important. Right. So, no matter what we say, right, how we dress up and how we show up, when I say show up, it includes everything: appearance, dress code, energy, the aura, the vibe, everything matters. Right. And then when I say how you dress up, it really matters. It does not mean that we have to wear expensive branded clothes. No. The only thing is that you got to dress up like the most professional people or the most successful people in your profession. They dress up. It need not be expensive. It need not be, what to say, branded. But yes, it needs to be apt to the occasion, right? Not because you want to impress somebody. It simply says, when you're dressed well, it simply says that, whatever occasion you're presenting yourself at, that occasion is important for you. No matter how casual an individual you are, whenever we sit for an interview, do we dress well? Do we dress up well? Yes. I have trained young aspirants for appearing in civil services exams. So, first thing that they come when we start their interview preparation is I ask them, what are you going to wear? Because sometimes they have to get their clothes stitched, which may take about 15-20 days' time. Isn't it? So, wearing a well ironed, neat and tidy blazer, coat, or a sari, or, a nice, appropriate suit, whatever, whether it's a coat pant or a normal salwar kameez, whatever it is, right? It conveys a lot about how serious you are about this particular occasion, right? And no matter how promising a candidate you are, if you appear ruffled, untidy, your jeans are torn, right? Maybe you aren't a casual person, but the appearance reflect that you doesn't seem to be very serious, isn't it? So, the first thing, as I said, and all of you rather said, what people observe from maximum distance is how we appear, the physical aspect of us, right? And that is the first thing to take home from today. That when you go to your classrooms, no matter how tired you are, if you are planning to go to the college today, maybe you have a lot of stress at home and there are a lot of things you're juggling between, right? But the way you present yourself in the classroom, when you look professional, oh, children look up to you, isn't it? You really leave a very lasting impression on your students, and they also pick up a lot of things. Do you remember from your college days a well dressed, very prim and proper teacher? Does anybody remember a teacher who you used to admire because he or she was always well dressed, absolutely impeccable, neat, tidy, professional? Right? So these impressions, they really last with us. So from the farthest distance, what really matters is how we are dressed up, and that is one of the most important ingredients of self-presentation. When people come little closer, say about 3 feet away, what do you think they observe? From 3 meters away or 10 meters away, they observe our appearance. Closer, what do they observe? Yes? Any
Face
answers?
gestures.
Absolutely, Updesh sir. Gestures, Dr. Chetna, facial expressions, isn't it? Your body language. So there's a Chinese proverb which says that a person who does not know how to smile should not open a shop. Isn't it? So your facial expressions really matter a lot. Your body language really matters. Your gestures really matter. And I can give you so many examples, right? When you see somebody, doing karate or any such kind of a martial art, you will see their body language is always very angular, isn't it? So that body, even if you put it on mute, just from their body language you can figure out how aggressive this person is appearing, or he is in a very quarrelsome or a fight mode. Correct. So our angular body language conveys aggression. It conveys stay away from me, a frown on your face, and nobody will approach you because it seems like you're grumpy, unhappy in that given moment. Isn't it? People don't even listen to what we are saying. They observe our facial expressions to gauge how we might be feeling, right? And the same time, if you see the ballerina, this what do you call that, a particular dance form. So all the gestures are very rounded gestures in that. The Russian dance, ballet, not belly dance, but ballet. Ah, thank you, Arti ma'am. Ballet. So in that, the gestures are very rounded. Their dresses are also very rounded. Anything that is rounded, that appears very friendly and amicable, right? So people observe your gestures, they observe your body language, they observe your facial expressions along with everything. So no matter how well dressed you are, if you are grumpy, if you are frowning, if your body is not conveying confidence, right? Your stoopy shoulders, neck down, chin down, you're cocooned up. Oh, the most expensive dress is not going to add much value to you, right? So the simple postures of keeping your back straight and chin up and broad shoulders and broad chest, it conveys how you walk. That little spring in your walk, it conveys so much about, again, how confident you are, how pleasant you are, and how approachable you are, right? So dress is something that you need still spend some money on, but when you're working on your body, your best postures, your facial expressions, it's completely free of cost. And sometimes not so well dressed people, when they are so friendly, when they're so amiable, you say, oh, never judge a book from its cover. Oh, that person was so unassuming. When you look at this person, you cannot make out how well read, how learned that person is. So humble, isn't it? So, the second thing that you need to work on is your posture, your body language, your facial expressions, and of course, your gestures. And you need to be a pleasant looking person and appearing to be somebody who's accessible and approachable. All right. And the third thing that people make judgment about you is that first 10 words when you speak, when you open your mouth. Your communication, your choice of words. You could be the most well dressed person in a room, unassumingly confident, right? Really very bright, handsome, beautiful. But if you're rude, right? If you're discourteous, people will say, what a jerk, right? People, or the impression they will form is, oh, just the facade was nice. When I spoke to this person, I realized there was no metal, there was no content, isn't it? So the presentation skills are a right combination of what you wear, how you come across as a person when it comes to your physical gestures, body language, facial expressions, and the third important skill, how you come across when you get to start talking to other people. I always tell it to all my students who start preparing for the interviews, etc., with me, that your interview does not start when you actually resume your chair in front of the interviewers. It starts the moment you step into the college or the organization where you are going to get interviewed. How you behave with the guard standing on the gate, at the gate, how you behave with the peon, how you behave with the fellow candidates who have also again come to appear for the interview. There are CCTV cameras everywhere, right? And the best judge of character of a person is how he or she behaves with people who are not as powerful as you are. So everybody behaves very well with bosses, with superiors, even sometimes with colleagues or people with whom we have equal status, isn't it? But who you really are, it your the litmus test for your character is how you're talking to people who don't have the same status as you are. The peons, the safai karamcharis, the janitors, the waiters, you know, all of those people. So it is so important that we teach this simple art of being polite and courteous to everybody, irrespective of whom they are talking to or whom they are addressing, right? So this is the first lesson for today, which has to do with the self presentation skills, right? Now, another very important aspect of soft skills is communication skills. Okay? Now, let me ask all of you a very simple question. We all, human beings, we treat ourselves and we have given ourselves this status of Homo sapiens, who are supposedly the most evolved species in the food chain and that triangle. Okay? So my question to all of you is, what all things do we have that make us, and that's our claim to fame of being the most evolved species, that other animals do not have? What is it that we human beings have that other animals do not have?
Ma'am, the only thing that I see is that we have the ability to communicate through
Wonderful.
speaking.
Language. Excellent. Right. So all animals have voice, but only human beings have communication skills. Brilliant issue. Thank you. Yes. What else? Orca.
We can manipulate things, we can read, write,
Exactly.
and calculate all sort of things.
Correct. So for manipulation, we need something here in the top story. So the intelligence or the reason or the logic that we have, the animals do not have it, isn't it? So our intellectual abilities and our communication skills, they create a kind of a clear divide between the lesser evolved and we, the supposedly the highly evolved people. So, another very important skill that we need to master is our capacity to communicate well and our capacity to be able to work well with people. Now, before I explain this a little in detail, I really want to share some very important bit of information with all of you. Right? Now, when I ask this question, what segregate us from others, as we said, is the intellectual capacity as well, which is considered to be IQ, intelligence quotient, right? But years ago, there was this psychologist by the name uh, Terman. He conducted a study where he had studied, highly gifted, intelligent, brilliant people, right, geniuses for many years. And while doing this lifelong study, he realized that over the span of 40 years, he noticed that none of them grew up to become a Nobel laureate. They were brilliant, they were geniuses, right? They were really gifted, but none of them became exceptionally successful in their lives. So Terman felt that there is something more to life than plain IQ. And over the years, we came across this concept of EQ. Can anybody tell me what is EQ?
Ma'am, emotional quotient.
Absolutely. Emotional quotient, our ability to deal with our emotions and our ability to intelligently handle other people's emotions. So, where IQ again ensures that we get a job, EQ ensures that we get along very well with the other people in that job, right? And anybody who knows how to work with the emotional quotient, they certainly assume the leadership positions, they have better promotions, they enjoy better quality relationship with others because they know how to handle people intelligently, right? Then now, the companies, they are looking for something which is called as LQ, and LQ stands for learnability quotient. When I say learnability quotient, it means how flexible people are. How quickly can they adapt to the changing environment? Because, we are really living in a very vulnerable and an uncertain kind of world, which is progressing and changing at a pace like never before. So, people who are rigid, they find it very difficult to adjust, accommodate, and adapt themselves to the requirement of our surroundings. Isn't it? So, now trust me, because I work very closely with the corporate and the industry also, the HR is actually looking for people who have the attitude of a learner, who are ready to change and who are very flexible to accept changes in a effortless manner, isn't it? So another skill, or another, I would say, attitude that we definitely want our students to learn, and also us, because obviously we still are a part of the workforce, is to leave our rigid stances in life, right? And pick up the clues from the situation and mold ourselves to the need of a particular situation. If anybody amongst you has studied public administration, there is a thought leader called Fallet, and she has given us a very profound statement, which says like situation is the guru. We need to align our skill set to the demand of the situation if we want to handle the situation well, and if we want to get onto the other side of the situation. Okay, so skill number 3 is learnability quotient. And with COVID came another quotient alive, which again the organizations, the corporate world, the industry felt that is highly required, and that quotient is called as AQ, and A stands for adversity quotient. Adversity means hardship, a challenge, or a difficult situation, right? So they are also seek people who are resilient. When I use the word resilient, it simply means your capacity to bounce back after a challenge or a difficult situation has hit you hard. So again, there's a Chinese proverb which says, yes, empathy, again, it's very, very important. But adversity, here it means you being so resilient that you can deal with a difficult situation without getting bogged down by that situation, right? So the Chinese proverb says, fall 7, rise 8, isn't it? So our adversity quotient means, again, how our tenacity, the mental toughness to deal with the difficult, demanding situations that otherwise the weaker kind of a people, or people who are not mentally tough enough, cannot deal with. And let me share a good news with all of you. Whether it is IQ, EQ, LQ, or AQ, these are all muscles and they can be built. These are all skills and they can be acquired, right? And trust me, everybody, we are living in a era of personal growth and development. There is so much available when it comes to self development, isn't it? You want to develop your communication skills? Read 5 good books on communication skills. Start listening to some good podcasts, right? Start following some people who call themselves communication coach or communication experts. You want to improve probably your interpersonal skills? Come on, follow some people, read some books there, isn't it? You want to enhance your coding skills? Lovely. So trust me, everybody, it's the best time in the history of mankind to be alive, because information, knowledge, data is just a click away. We must know how to access that. And let me drop one truth bomb also, isn't it? We all have heard this and we have been growing up listening to this, that knowledge is power. How many of you agree with that? That knowledge is power. Can I have some show of hands? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging. I'm going to twist it a little. I would say executing knowledge is power, isn't it? Each one of us, we know we got to eat healthy. We should get up in the morning. We should take care of our physical fitness. We ought to have some disciplined regime, right? We got to do this, we got to do that. We should not procrastinate, all that stuff. There is no person in now alive who does not have this basic access to knowledge or understanding. But our problem is Yes, ma'am. Ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn is power. So well put. So we may know everything under the sun, but what use is that we are not archetypes, right? We are not artifacts. We are not museums that we will keep collecting information, we'll keep collecting data. No, we got to be, working factories. When I say factories, I'm not saying overwork on anything. All I'm saying is execute what you know. That is what is powerful, and that would yield results, right? So any book you read, you find something good in that, please make it a part of your daily routine. So many times people tell me, ma'am, we listen to these things, they feel so good, but after week 10 days everything wears off and we go back to our routines. Naturally, when we do not practice anything, right, we do not develop that nerve, no? We do not develop that muscle, right? So it does not happen that you go to the gym once and there you go, you're fit. No, you keep doing it weeks on weeks, months on months, and that's how you build up that fantastic looking body. Similarly, anything that you want to develop cognitively also, you want to develop resilience, you want to develop your, emotional intelligence, emotional regulation, emotional agility, learn something and practice it. And let me share something more very interesting with you. Anything that you have learned, yeah, acquired, but you have not practiced it in the next 48 hours, consider it lost. All of us, we attend so many of these courses, 99 rupees courses. Somebody's teaching us this thing, somebody's teaching us that thing, right? And we keep on spending these 99, 99, 99 rupees. When you consolidate, all this spending by the year end, because you have to, file an ITR, you say, damn, I have spent about 10, 15,000 rupees. But have I renewed myself? Am I practicing what I learned? Is so important, right? So we know a lot of things. But today, I really want to earnestly request everyone that stop accumulating more. As I said, we are not museums, right? First of all, whatever you know, start practicing small little things in your daily life and, enjoy the results, the fruits of that execution. Then something new, learn something new, execute that. Then learn something new, execute that, right? So don't become like old registers or, thick tombs. Now, declutter. That's very, very important. Okay. So, uh, more than intelligence we got to work on, or other than intelligence, there are other abilities that we need to build up. Okay, third very important thing that I want to share with you is, which you must share with all your students, that organizations, they hire you for three things. There are three things that make us highly employable. The first thing, of course, is knowledge. Nobody can beat the technical aspect of our subjects. There is no substitute for knowing our subjects very well. All of us, we need to be deeply rooted into the theoretical constructs. You are an English teacher, you got to know your grammar, spelling, vocabulary, prose, drama, poetry very well. You are a science teacher, you are a technical, come from technical background, coding, programming, you must know your languages very well. There is no substitute for that. Or else you are an influencer. Okay, you have read 3-4 books, you know 5, 7, 10 quotes, and you got a good face, you know how to face the camera well, and confidently you can blatantly say whatever you want to say. All right, but that isn't very sustainable. Sustainable jobs or sustainable businesses, they are very deeply rooted into authority, knowing your subject very well. The second thing that comes is your skills. No matter theoretically how sound you are, no matter how many books you have read, right, and how well you know the vocabulary, the grammar, and you're literally a dictionary, but when it comes to execution of that thing, you're ille. Like especially, in any applied subject like psychology, Maybe I know all the theories, all the theorists, like with like back of my hand, but I do not know how to handle a client who is feeling anxious, isn't it? So I do not make a good therapist at all. I may be a good professor because I can teach theory well, but I'm really not a very good therapist. So the second thing that our students need to enhance or work upon is their skill set. They must know the computer languages. If you're into design, you must know how to draw, paint. If you're into animation, you must know the nuances of animation. If you're into digital marketing, you must know all the different apps and everything very well. But again, the third and the most critical things which now the industry is looking for is neither knowledge nor skills. They are looking for attitude. And attitude has to do with the mindset of people, isn't it? You may know theory very well and you have all the knowledge in the world when it comes to the skill set also. I can quote a very recent conversation that I had with HR of a Chandigarh startup, a very well established startup in Chandigarh. She said that they have a team leader who is very good with whatever she does, and but she's very high headed. And those of you who do not understand Hindi, there would be a little compromise. But she says, and she misbehaves blatantly. She misbehaves with everybody in the team. Very high-headed girl, and she openly says, "मैं तो हूँ ही बदतमीज." You have to bear with it. So the HR of the company, because I'm working very closely with her on a project, she says, "What do we do with her?" I said, this is an attitudinal issue. Maybe she has the skill set, maybe she has the know how, right? But this attitude of hers is setting a very wrong precedent. I said, today you are taking it from one person, tomorrow there will be 10 people who say, we know our jobs very well and we are battamis, deal with it. I said that the whole, this is contagious. This attitude is contagious, and you may have more people showing similar symptoms very soon, right? So despite she being a very high performing uh, team member of that startup, they have given her a warning that, sorry, we do not want to deal with your battamizi. Either you work on it, or you can find another job for yourself, right? So the students must know that today, what happens when you're hired in very good companies? They can spend bloody 50,000 on your skill set and they can upskill you, provided you are somebody who has this attitude of being a team player, or you are somebody with high learnability quotient, high adversity quotient, or they see that there is some attitude of loyalty in you and you're actually going to stick around in the company for some time, isn't it? So the mindset, isn't it? The perspective taking skills. Somebody wrote empathy in the message box. Your ability to work well with people is what really counts. Because again, many jobs are like work from home jobs, isn't it? And people, they sit in their own corners and they're working together virtually. So imagine how important interpersonal skills and communication skills become when you don't even see each other face to face. Maybe you have never even met your colleague even once in, say, 3 years, 4 years of your career, isn't it? So communication skills, they become so much important. Okay, let us talk about communication skills, right? Yeah. So when it comes to professional setup, or even for that matter personal setup, communication is something that combines, which is the bridge between people. Okay. And communication is something that we use as a tool to resolve so many things like conflicts. It is communication that we use to put up a suggestion, for negotiation, for seeking permission, for giving orders, isn't it? Basically, it boils down to communication skills, and our language is so powerful and it is such a potent tool. Now, let me just share with you certain very simple key rules in communication so that again our professional lives and our personal lives, they become peaceful, right? And we can minimize conflict in that, and when we speak, we are heard, right? And then other people also, they listen to us. Okay, so now when I say communication, what comes to your mind? Like if I ask all of you, what according to you are communication skills? What would be your answer to the question? How will you define it or express it?
Communication, according to me, means understanding whatever is said and whatever is not said.
Wonderful. Yeah. Excellent, sir. Thank you very much, Saurabh. Understanding whatever is said and not said. Thank you, sir. Now, why I asked this question was because normally, when we say communication, people start thinking about expression, like be able to talk, the ability to articulate your thoughts effectively. Very true, ma'am. So there are two very important aspects of communication. One, understanding what has been said and not said, and two, expressing your thoughts in a clear manner. And between articulation and understanding, if according to me, right, it's the understanding that comes first, right? If you can listen to people by paying attention to what they are saying, right, and you can make them feel seen, heard, and wanted or valued, we are actually sowing seeds for very long term effective relationships. What did I say? I said that human beings have three basic psychological needs. And those basic psychological needs are to be seen, to be heard, and to be valued. Or, in other words, as Saurabh sir said, to be understood. So, when we listen to people, isn't it, when we maintain eye contact, when they are communicating with us, when we are nodding to what they are saying, we are making them feel valued and understood. And that actually lays the foundation for very strong, long-term, meaningful relationships. Right? So when we say communication skills, trust me, 70% it is art of listening. How we listen. So Aarti ma'am, thank you again, because I can see you, your camera is on. The moment she nods, I feel that okay, there's some feedback coming from at least one participant that whatever I'm saying, uh, it is well received. And when I ask you a question, then all of you respond to the question, right? Again, you are sort of fulfilling a basic psychological need in me, that is need to be heard, right? So it starts there, right? Our capacity to listen attentively and empathetically. That's very, very important. And then second important thing is how you articulate your thoughts, how you frame the narrative in your head with absolute clarity when you got to express something to someone, right? So clarity is very important in communication, whether it is intrapersonal communication or interpersonal communication. Okay, now to build up effective relationships through communication, just remember one or two things, right? The first thing is, when we are communicating with someone, avoid using you statements. You did it, you said it, you never do that, you never listen to me, you have never done even one thing properly, right? Replace it with I statements. I feel I did not feel heard when I'm talking to you. I felt hurt when when you said something like that. Uh, I felt demeaned or belittled when you rose your voice in front of everybody in the staff room, right? So instead of using you statements, we got to use statements just by telling someone that this is how I felt. Because when you use you statements, the other person feels uh, either he gets either offended or defensive, because you is accusation, it is taken very personally, right? And second important thing is, when you are sharing how it feels, or you're articulating something to somebody, instead avoid using absolute words. When I say absolute words are like never or always. You always misbehave. You have never listened to me. You cannot do even a single thing appropriately. So when we talk like this, the other person feels that, I mean, all that I have done and all the value that I have added to the relationship, or all that I have brought on the table, is sort of simply brushed away. So staying specific, staying in present, and talking about what has happened just now rather than bringing in the past and giving such overgeneralized statement, it really kills the spirit of communication, right? So when we say something, we say it with clarity, we say it with confidence, and at the same time we stick to the issue and not take it so far that the current issue, the current concern, that loses its salience. Another important aspect of soft skills is to do with our cognitive skills, the capacity to make decisions, our capacity to solve problems. Okay? Now, how do we help someone, or how do we train our students to become problem solvers and decision makers is a huge responsibility that all of us we have on our shoulders, because we are the adults in that transaction, in that relationship. Okay? Decision making happens or comes with two things. The first thing is when we make decision making democratic, right? When people feel that their opinions are being heard, right? So as adults, maybe as teachers, as parents, as head of the departments, head of the institutions, normally what happens is we made declarations and sort of everybody has to comply to that. Now, whatever age group the student or the child is in, they need to be a part of the decision making process, and they should be given age appropriate responsibility. That's very, very important. Okay. And I must share it with all of you. Being a mother, being a psychologist, a professional, decision making can be a very overwhelming process for many people. Okay, I have seen 4-year-olds struggling with decision making, 14-year-olds struggling with decision making, 40 years old struggling with decision making, and even 70 years old feeling very confused and overwhelmed when when it comes to making decision. Confused, absolutely, not knowing what is to be done. Right? So, as I said, every soft skill is a muscle, and to build up a muscle, some practice and training is required. So, it is so important that we start this process very early in the life of the students or children. And how to reduce the overwhelm in decision making is not to give open ended choices to people and people get bogged down, right? So if it's a small child and you are, or maybe as a family, you're going out for a dinner, okay? Now, you know your budget, isn't it? You know the time that you have in hand. So normally what I've seen parents do is, okay, we are going for dinner outside. Let's become a democratic home. So where do we go? So the 10-year-old says, let's go to Taj, right? The 12-year or 14-year-old will say, let's go to Marriott. And then you say, no, 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 we can't go to Taj or Marriott. What are you talking about? Those places are very expensive, blah, blah, blah. And the children will say, then why did you ask us? If you did not have to follow what we say, then why did you ask us? Or, asking an open-ended question can bring so many diverse views that we do not know how to incorporate those views, right? So to begin with, how we start helping children make decisions is you throw a question and you also give them 2 or maximum 3 options. That we are going out for dinner. Should we go to McDonald's or do we go to Gopal? Or today, do we go to, say, I do not know, Kelsang or Yo China? 3 places. Now, what happens is when you give them these alternatives, right? They have to pick something out of these 3 alternatives only. They can't go beyond that. So it reduces the cognitive load that decision making may bring with it. And second thing is when they say that, okay, let's go to McDonald's today, and you say, brilliant, let's go to McDonald's. They feel heard and they feel that, their opinion matter. And they really feel that, oh, wow, we have the ability to make decisions. Okay. So just make people to whom you want to teach decision making a part of the decision making process. Make them feel heard, right? Ask them for their opinion. And if you feel that the opinion is appropriate, please incorporate it in the final process. This is how the confidence level builds up. Coming to problem solving. Again, a skill which lot of people struggle with. And trust me, when it comes to problem solving, there are 2 mindsets that I have seen in people. One is actually, the problem mindset people, and other are solution mindset people. There are so many people when they encounter a problem, oh my God, they get so lost in the problem that the part of the brain which actually seeks solution shuts down. Isn't it? So we got to train ourselves and train everybody else who matter to us in the problem solving thing. How do we do that? So again, I'm going to give you 2 different approaches. Okay. One approach you're all aware of, and that approach is called as brainstorming. What do we do in brainstorming, friends? Any idea? What is brainstorming?
Brainstorming is
to think about the various aspects of the
various.
problem.
Yes.
Yes, multiple perspective, various perspectives, right? So in brainstorming, what happens is the problem question is thrown to the audience and everybody give their opinion. So I think many times in this session, when I throw a question and everybody has a perspective to the question, we are actually doing brainstorming here. Okay. Now, what is the most critical ingredient in brainstorming? Please understand that. That is judgment-free, evaluation-free environment. Right? Let us say I ask a question, somebody responds to that, and I snub that answer. What are you talking about? What a silly answer, if I say. I don't expect this answer from you, from qualified people like you. Do you think people will participate further after that? Yes or no? No, they will not. Why? Because we all have fear of judgment. Isn't it? This is very core, basic fear in us human beings. So, if we really want our classrooms to become places where creativity is thriving and problem solving is thriving, please, teachers, create an environment which is judgment free, criticism free, and evaluation free. You can evaluate them during the examination. You're free to do that. Rather, you're supposed to do that. But when it comes to classrooms, right, let everybody express themselves. Let opinions matter. Of course, if somebody is a miscreant and they're creating nuisance, you can snub that child. Or rather, I would say ignore, completely ignore that suggestion, right? Because people say silly things, stupid things for attention. Even when you snub somebody, you're giving them the attention. And somewhere, you'll see more of that happening in the class. Right? So one way to ignite the spirit of problem solving is by encouraging people to have opinions, express them, and they are allowed to express it without fear of judgment, without fear of criticism, without fear of evaluation. Right? And when a lot of suggestions have been taken, then of course with consensus we can eliminate a few and we can work on others. And let me ask you one more question. What do you think? Does brainstorming work well when you work as an individual, or does it work well when we work as a group?
As a group.
Absolutely right, Dr. Manvinder. What makes you say that, sir? What do you think is the difference between individual and group?
In group, there is a communication, various aspects of the
Right.
problem, which can
Yes.
be evolved with discussion and time.
Right. People will have such myriad, diverse perspectives, and we all build upon each other's perspective. And there's so much learning that happens during the problem solving phase itself. So many mental sets are dropped. Aarti ma'am says, we self-reject ideas when we are thinking on our own. Absolutely, ma'am. We are so good at judging ourselves and rejecting our own ideas. Self-doubt really kills a lot of brilliant ideas, isn't it? So one way of promoting problem solving is by making the problem open or making the house open about the problems and inviting people to share their perspective. Okay. Another way of developing a problem solving attitude. Meena ma'am says this is an automated message. Oh, all right. Another way of developing a solution oriented mindset is this. Normally, when we encounter problems in our lives, we get into self pity mode. Okay. And the first question that we ask ourselves or the Almighty is, why me? Why did it happen to me? Why do I need to suffer? This always happens with me. And the moment we say, why me, it is self pity. And it is emotional. You're getting emotional now. You're getting into the downward spiral. You will start recalling everything bad, everything wrong that has happened with you in life. And, from the problem that you're facing, you go back in history. Oh, in my childhood, this happened. Then I was a young man, this happened. Then with my parents, this happened. My wife did this. My children did this. My boss did this. Oh my God. That wasn't the problem. The problem is something that you're facing right now. Okay. So what do you need to do? A very simple thumb rule. And we all are going to remember this. Instead of asking why me, you're going to ask yourself one simple question. And the question is, what can I do about it? So the problem has happened. The challenge is there. You can sit, cry over it, do that for some time. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Bigger problem, you can cry for one day. But your crying is not going to solve the problem. So what do we need to do about that? We need to develop, or we need to ask a futuristic question. Okay, the problem has happened. I am very disheartened. I'm very disappointed. I'm frustrated. I'm really angry. I am pitying myself that I have to go through that. But then ultimately, feeling these feelings is not going to resolve the problem. The problem can only get resolved when you ask this question, okay, what can I do about it? And the moment you say, okay, what can I do about it? You become futuristic. You become solution oriented. Right? So next time your students come to you with problems and they are stuck, sit with them and ask them one this simple question. Okay, I understand there's something very difficult that you're feeling stuck in. Tell me, what can you do about it? They may come with some, and then the brainstorming can start. Okay, we can do this, we can handle it like this, we can say something like this, so on and so forth. Right? So it is all about our mindset. And we adults, we set the tone, by the way. You know, children observe parents, students observe teachers. So when we are able to deal with some situation in a very graceful manner with clarity, oh, they observe us like, oh, I've seen my mom or my dad or my uncle or my teacher. So gracefully they have dealt with their life issues. So there is a graceful way of dealing with the life issues. Right? Another important thing, very important thing, which I think the younger generation I feel is little lost because, oh, they have again too much of information overload. That is to do with goal setting. There are so many options that they don't know what to do in their lives. So I always give them this example, and you can again, quote this example. And before I quote that example, again, I'm going to ask you a question. Do we all use GPS? Correct? Now, when we use a GPS in our mobiles, this app, there are two destinations that we need to punch in. What are those two destinations?
Initial and final.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much. The current location and the final destination. Isn't it? And only when you punch in the final destination and then you start following that strange sounding voice. She's telling you, take the first exit and now the second exit, 800 meters, 500. We just keep following her. And then ultimately she says, you have arrived. Your destination is on your right or your destination is on your left. So, when you have to commute within a city or you have to travel from one city to another city, it is so important for the GPS to know the destination. That is how it is going to take us from point A to point B. And when it comes to life, where will our life's GPS take us if we do not give it a destination? Isn't it? So, goals are very important. And the goals need to be set upon or according to our interests, our ability, our education background, and also, the industry demand. If something is really in vogue, if industry needs something, and you align your goal with what the industry demands, you can so easily monetize your skills. I'm not saying again that people can't do anything offbeat, or people are doing spectacular work with offbeat things as well. And again, I would say it's the best time to be alive. You just need to be an expert in your field. There's this lady, her name is Dolly. She charges about 1.5 lakh to tie a sari, my dear friends. It could be more than our 1 month salary. I know what her full name is, right? So she's called a drape entrepreneur, right? She ties sarees for celebrities and the who's who of India, and charges 1.5 lakh for tying a sari, plus the air ticket, plus the stay, plus the travel and everything. So that is the time we are living in. So if the goal is set that this is my skill set, this is my educational background, this is my interest, and this is what I like to do, and in 4 years times, 5 years time, 3 years time, uh, this is where I see myself. Then only life will push us, the resources you gather, and finally you reach where you want to reach. But if you don't have the destination, then it's okay. I mean, wherever you go doesn't really matter. understand this, I believe, very important soft skill, I would say, is emotional regulation, isn't it? How we deal with the primitive, raw energy within us called emotions. Okay, again a question. What is A plus B the whole square? The formula?
Ma'am, A square plus B square
Plus 2AB.
plus 2AB.
Yeah, isn't it? And I think most of you on this call would know this formula. Now, my next question. How many of us have applied this formula to solve a real life problem? Never. You know? So we learned so many formulas, such difficult equations in maths and physics and chemistry, balancing the equations, etc. I'm not saying that it is worthless. I'm just saying that this knowledge does not help us to wade through the life issues and interpersonal issues in any way. Rather, if you are too scholarly a person, let me tell you, intelligent people are more maladaptive. They do not know how to deal with relationships and tantrums of children and, the henpecking of wives and spouses. They have no clue how to deal with that because they were so many into books. Okay, now another question. What is the first thing a child does when it is born? First thing.
Crying.
Thank you very much, sir. And crying is an emotion, isn't it? So, what I'm trying to say is that emotions is something we are born with. Intellect, logic, reason is something that we build over the period of time thanks to socialization, education, etc. And all our education system is cerebral. It is only catering to needs of our mind, head. But we human beings, let me drop another truth bomb, my dear friends. We are not logical beings, we are biological beings. Remember that always. When there is a crisis, logic jumps out of the window, and we are left with biology that is to do with survival. And we are left to deal with our emotions all by ourselves, zero training. Neither in kindergarten nor in middle school, high school, college, or university, we have been taught to deal with our emotions, regulate anger, get out of our sadness, do something about our frustration, and start our day again. What to do when you're feeling nervous, anxious. Whereas in 20 years of my career, right, I would have met thousands of people, maybe lakhs, right? And the struggle with emotions is real, real. CEOs, people having companies. Latest, there's this couple who's coming to me with therapy. She says, the wife says, ma'am, we have 4 children, right? And my husband has a workforce of 4,000 people. She says he knows how to deal with those 4,000 people, but when he comes back home, he has no clue how to manage these 4 children. So a CEO, I don't know how many crores of company in Bahrain really struggles when it comes to handling wife and children and marriage and parenthood. So very important life skill. I don't call it a soft skill. It's a very critical life skill is how to regulate our emotions. No school talks about that. No university talks about that. And as parents also, we can't teach that to our children because we ourselves do not know what to do about it. When you are angry, oh, there is chaos in the house. If the child is throwing tantrum, I see parents throwing even a bigger tantrum in that case. If your student is misbehaving with you, we forget that we are the adult and, there is something wrong with this child. Oh, we really stoop down to the level of the student and we get into correction. Isn't it? So let's, stop putting emotions under the carpet. They are real. And let's do what it takes to learn to deal with this chaotic aspect of our life called emotion, because anybody who knows how to deal with the emotions is a leader. Let me tell you, I don't have any qualms saying that. And people who do not know how to deal with their emotion, they land up in most sticky, most tricky situations, isn't it? So, again, I work very closely with prison officers, police, and I happen to have visited jails also. And so many of these inmates in the jail, they say, Ki, ma'am, it was that one moment of anger or aggression. If I knew how to deal with that, my life story would have been different. Any murderer, any rapist would do that act, heinous act, because he did not know what to do with that fit of anger at that moment. People have faced so many disciplinary actions because they did not know what to do with that frustration which got built up because the boss was difficult. They did not know how to handle that person or handle themselves in the presence of this particular individual. Isn't it? So it is such a critical skill to learn to deal with our emotions and learn emotional regulation. And it's most ignored part of our lives and our relationships. Isn't it? So basically, when it comes to soft skills, like we have labeled them as soft, and it seems like, this is doable, we will deal with it later on. But we need to make these so called life skills or soft skills a very integral part of our curriculum. And I know you can't do it on everyday basis. I understand that. You have so much of academic pressure. There are a zillion things that you have to deal with. But maybe once in 15 days, if we can pick up something which is very critical to the industry, which is very critical to our students' survival in the industry, and we do a role play, we pick up a case study and discuss it in the classroom, isn't it? Or we show a video around something that is giving them a particular life skill. I think one, there will be little diversity in our classroom, isn't it? There will be some newness, some uniqueness in our classrooms, and students will look forward to that. Imagine, I mean, this course is also more on curriculum planning and all that, and I'm not talking about that at all. That's not my forte. But there is a little freshness when we talk about these things in this session, right? So similarly, why students would need to come to your classroom is not because you're giving them subject knowledge. Subject knowledge is something that is available on the internet, and I always say that after Lord Krishna, if there is a avatar on this earth, that's Google Bhagwan. Because Google has answers to all the questions. Then why should they come to you and me? And Google will give them answers at their convenience from their comfort space. And Google does not even, demand respect. We do. So what is it as a teacher we can give to our students that Google cannot? If I may ask you one more question.
They can feel connected with their teachers.
Wonderful, sir. Connection. And humans crave for this connection. We are born with this need, empathy, compassion. Google cannot give them empathy. You can overload them with data and information, choke them with data, right? But the empathy, compassion, connection can only come from a human. And I feel, again, the overwhelm that has been caused because of the digital signature all around us, this is digital jungle that we are living in, right? So it's only a human that can give that feeling of connection. And one more question. Do we connect with heads or we connect with hearts?
Ideally, both.
Ideally, both. Yes, with the head there is more of cognitive connection, and with heart there is more of emotional connection. So as teachers, as adults, as parent, don't focus on correction. Correction will happen. So remember, connection before correction. Through compassion, through empathy, through the art of uh, being somebody who's available, who's accessible, who listens to them, do not judge them on small little thing, encourages them, pats their back when they have done something well. Do not criticize them in public. Talk to them in private when you have to make some correction. Right? So applying these simple human principles, uh, we can form very strong connections with our students. And once we have formulated these strong connections, now we are eligible to make corrections. Now they will listen to us because we listened to them. Now they are accessible to us. Why? Because we were accessible to them, we were available to them. Isn't it? So, having democratic classrooms, being an open minded adult, and I love to call teachers more knowledgeable partners. Isn't it? We are just more knowledgeable partners. And also, I want to share one more very interesting thing with all of you. You know, that this myth of the person who is elder to the other person being more experienced is now bursting. Dr. Manvi, do you want to say something?
Yeah, ma'am, before
Please.
you head on to the new areas, you have raised a question, like the emotional aspect of life, and there are so many issues even with educated people. Do you suggest there is some remedy to take care of that emotional aspect?
Very true, sir. This is a very relevant question you have asked. This is remedy is that, sir, we learn that skill ourselves. Isn't it? We cannot teach what we don't know ourselves. And that's where we fail as parents and maybe teachers and families and institutions. We were never taught this. So there are some wonderful books. There's a very beautiful book called Emotional Agility. A Harvard professor has written this book. Tiny book, 250 rupees or 200 rupees. I think all educators got to read that book. It's a very new concept. After emotional intelligence, this new concept called emotional agility is, uh, uh, you know, sort of new research on that. Very beautiful concept.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Right? So having democratic classrooms, and I don't address students as true students anymore. I call them young adults because yeah. And I was also talking about one very interesting thing that I've come across on LinkedIn. It's called reverse mentorship. So normally, we mentor our students, but I've realized that in so many aspects, these 17, 18, 19, 20-year olds, they know much more than us. I have learned so much about digital media usage from my interns. Oh, they are so hands-on, Gen Z. How to make videos, how to make your clip look more attractive, increase your reach, blah, blah. So there's a concept now in industry also called reverse mentorship, where the young people who have been onboarded, who have been taken in, they are mentoring the older people because they have no idea about AI and how to use these tools and how to incorporate uh, this digital stuff in making life simpler. So there is so much that we can also learn from our students and make them feel that they can teach us so much. And that equation again probably opens door for more communication, two-way exchange. And I think that makes our classrooms and our institutions more enriching places, isn't it? So I think we adults, as teachers, we need to keep our big heads and egos aside. That's very important. And we need to admit that we do not know it all. There is so much to learn and evolve in. And remaining a learner and, developing ourselves, and that reflection in our behavior is going to be the biggest lesson for the younger generation. So this is what I wanted to share with all of you, and I believe that everybody, I also learned a lot from all of you, and I'm sure everybody is taking home something from this session, right? So thank you so much. I think it was brilliant interacting with all of you, and the feedback, the mm, inputs that all of you have given were very interesting.
And that the knowledge, skill, and attitude, these are the three important things which is very much required in all setups. And knowledge and skill can be transferred, that is easy, but how do we, that I have question on the attitude part, that whether it can be trained, or that it is within the student and it cannot be trained. What is your view on it?
So we believe in the concept called growth mindset, and now we believe that more or less everything can be acquired, right? So you're talking about attitude. Yes, mindset, perspective is something that can be built. We need to learn those skills to build that mindset or that attitude or that perspective, right? So we have been using many tools from times immemorial. For example, sir, storytelling, it's a very important and a very potent tool when it comes to building up of a mindset. Like, I talked about why me versus what can I do about it. So I'll tell you a 1 minute story which I always share, and it is so profound. So there was this tennis player, I'm forgetting his name. He was a black and he became the first Grand Slam master. Cutting the long story short, sir, after such a, I would say glorious career, he got AIDS. He was HIV positive and he was lying in the hospital, critically ill, his body aching. And his mother asked him this question. I think his name was Arnold. He said, Arnold, have you never asked God, why did this happen to you? And what Arnold said is such a life transforming, I would say, statement. He says, Mama, when I became the first black to win the Grand Slam, Open Wimbledon, did I ask God, why me? When I became the first black to become number one player in the tennis, did I ask, why me? Now I don't have the courage to ask God, why me? So, a story like this can really change the perspective from pitying our situations to accepting our situations. So, storytelling, sir, is a very potent tool. Another, sir, like I talked about case studies. So, we have this water man of India, forest man of India, missile man of India. So they all became who they became because of course, their mindset. So, sir, reading about these people and sharing excerpts of their life, like there's another very beautiful book written by one of Dr. Kalam's students. The book is called What Can I Give? And again, sir, this is such a profound book on what a teacher needs to be. That so when we read a lot and then we have little anecdotes, case studies, stories to tell to our students, because stories evoke emotions, sir. And as I said, we are biological beings and emotions really stay with us. So those are the tools which I use in my sessions also, sir, to bring some lasting changes in people. So you can just try incorporating this in your classrooms. Let's see
Thank
if
you.
that
Thank
works
you.
for you as well.
Thank you very much.
Aarti ma'am has a question. Students are very delicate. Ah, yes, ma'am. They're very, very delicate. So very low on adversity quotient. We sometimes aren't even sure what might hurt them. As you said, they are tech savvy, but the same tech is sometimes pushing them to have adverse effects on their attention spans. True. How to make them engage or engross in something to make them understand the pleasure of getting focused and involved in a work to get fruitful results. Ma'am, this is a very difficult question, because attention is one of the most expensive or most valued 21st century resource, and every brand is just eyeing on our attention, isn't it? So what I have found very useful is, again, ma'am, getting interested in other person's interest, right? So as adults, again, we have this habit of wanting to say more and tell more. I have felt that, again, connections happens, engagement happens, ma'am, when we want to know more about the other person. isn't it? So when we get interested in our students' interest and we show a lot of enthusiasm, excitement, and sense of awe and wonder about their lives, they share with us, and that's how we get little peep into what are they up to. And we also win their trust, ma'am, because we are not judging them, we are not criticizing them, isn't it? And we are sort of showing excitement about what they are doing. Once we have won their trust, ma'am, there's a connection, and now is the time for us to use that connection to build up again the skill and the mindset that we feel is extremely important for them, but at their age, they are not able to see that. So, suggestions do not help, ma'am. Lectures have become absolutely outdated, right? And long narratives about what should be, what could be, does not work. I think asking a lot of questions and engaging with them by involving them into whatever we want them to build up a skill in really counts. And then of course, little correction, that how can they cut down on their I use language, I do not tell them that use less of mobile, I tell them redefine your relationship with technology so they find it more useful, right? And then little steps, what can they do about it? So Aarti ma'am, we need to be very very updated. Other than our subjects, this whole self-help revolution, this whole personal development revolution, I think each one of us, we should make use of that by staying reading a lot and staying updated.